An alcoholic's day in France. Somebody mentioned something the other day. It's a really good quote. When you do something, when you're a drinker, an alcoholic, there's a huge difference between fantasy and reality. So this is my fantasy, how the day turned out. My best man was living in Northumberland. I was in Essex. I was working in London then, young police sergeant I met. And I suggested him we would go to northern France, just a little cycle, around Calais. So my intention was to get the underground train from Epping into central London, get the train down to Victoria, and then get to Dover. We managed all that, although there was a few mishaps on the way. But to take you back slightly, you came down on the train. I met him at Epping station. Now, this is where I knew my drinking was a little bit heavier than his. So he gets off the train with a case, obviously. First thing I do you want to go a few pints? Oh, I've had quite a long day, I'll just go home. I thought, I can't be going home. Come on, let's have a few pints. So I took him to the local pub, had a couple. He wasn't a big drinker. He used to drink, but obviously not in my league. And about 4 o'clock that was, so I had a few, got back home at 6 o'clock. And then my ex-wife, then said to me, I need a word with you in private. Well, that was always a complex mission for me, having words in private. However, she announced that she was pregnant with my daughter. It was May 1993. So with a mixture of panic and elation, I started to drink more. And this chap, my best man, who unfortunately passed away, Hugh Turnbull, he was horrified at the matter I was drinking. And I knew I had to get up the next day at 6 o'clock. So I took him back to the pub again at night, took the dog for a walk, had a few more drinks, and then tried to get a bit of sleep. I couldn't get any sleep, so got up really early, got the bikes on. But at that time I could sort of work through 24 hours without getting any sleep because I just was fit enough to do that and had a few drinks. The alcohol seemed to bounce off me, so it wasn't a major problem. So we get into Victoria, got the train down to Dover, so I had a few drinks there, had a few cans in my bag. Obviously on the ferry, you can drink, can't you? He had a breakfast. What did he have? He had something like croissant, a cup of coffee, and I had about 4 cans of Stella. That sort of set the tone for the day. Got up to Calais. Why I went to Calais, I have no idea, but it was a beautiful day, as I recall. Cycled around Calais, so we need to go into Calais town just to have a look at a few shops and get a bite. We get a bit of lunch. No, this is my fantasy, you see, have a bit of lunch and sit in France with my best man, have a bit of a mooch about. Anyway, none of that happened, obviously, so we just found the local bars and had a few more drinks, and this, that and the other, and I ended up losing my wallet. He was horrified the amount I was drinking, and the whole day went to rat shit, basically. So eventually got the bikes back to Dover and got back into central London, so I suggested some more drinks. By that time we'd had a few, so we just carried on drinking basically all night. And then got back home, and the whole thing just turned into disaster. The next day we planned to go to some stately home or something he wanted to see. I never even made it. I was so hungover from the night before. I just got up and the day before. Got up and had a few more liveness, I think, to get myself pulled through. I had a few days off from work. And really, even then he said, I was only 28 then, 29. He said, your drinking's out of control. But it didn't seem to be for me, because I was in this culture of drinking with guys I knew who drank quite a lot. But he was from quite a small Northumberland town, and he didn't seem to see the buzz I was in, I thought I was in, with work and being in central London, all this sort of thing. My life was quite exciting, I sort of thought. But really his was more settled. In a way, he put a better life than me. So we stayed another couple of days, and all I did was drink. And like I say, the fantasy of doing all these lovely things just turns into a disaster, because when you're an alcoholic, you're not really interested in stately homes and going to places and restaurants, because you're not eating properly. That was when I was quite young, really, when you look back, late 20s. But I could pull myself around from that because I was young enough. So from then on, obviously my daughter was born, and then I had more issues with alcohol because I drank more, and then we went abroad a lot more for holidays, and all of them, bar none, until I got sober, were a disaster. Because this fantasy reality thing is quite stark. If you think back to the days when you planned something with your partner or your family, you got this vision of having a really good day somewhere, or a week or a month or whatever. It never turns out like that, does it? Because you can't focus. Now, if I say I'm going to go somewhere for a week, I'll have a really good time. I'll plan something to do. I'll get there on time. I'll make sure I'm okay. I'll take my partner, my daughter, whatever I'm doing at the time. And we'll always have a good time. Because you haven't got this constant nagging thing, oh, you must have a drink, you must have a drink, you must have a drink. It's nice to get a breakfast, feel fresh in the morning, be on time for trains, planes, and all this sort of thing. It's the same with getting a plane, isn't it? You go to the airport, you're itching to get a drink, you even panic. I used to panic when I used to get to the security area. You're going to take your shoes off and you're a bit wobbly, a bit staggering about and all this sort of thing. Or they're going to let me on the plane. And the first thing you want to do is to get to that bar, isn't it? At 5 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it is. And as soon as I used to get the first drink down, I was fine. All the panic was over. I used to hate standing in the queues. In the end, you know, I used to just take hand luggage and buy things at the end because I couldn't face standing in a long queue to book in. Sometimes I used to go, no wonder my partner was mad at me. The airport, hours and hours early to try and get checked in. Obviously the check-in desk don't open, do they? I once went, you know, to an airport. I was so panicked one year. I was in Alicante and I went the day before. They wouldn't let me in. So I had to, well, I didn't sleep. I just sat outside Alicante airport, popped in for the odd bit of coffee and, you know, not airside, on the public side. I was just drinking coffee and eating Mars bars and just rubbish for like 24 hours. What was all that about? My mind wasn't stable, you see. Because I'm sure that alcohol affected my mental health anyway. It definitely took me a while to get back to some semblance of order, really. Because it has physical effects, but also affects your mental health. And you will have had these fantasy thoughts in your mind about, let's just do this. And what you want to be is you want to be normal, you see. I did try once, I thought, why can't I just be normal for a week and just have a couple of drinks and watch a bit of telly, watch a bit of football? I just couldn't do it. Not once could I do that. I could never have 2 pints to go home. Never, ever, ever. And I used to really be strict with myself and think, right, tonight, just take £20 out, have 2 or 3 drinks, get yourself some takeaway or something, we'll come back to the flat. Never happened. I used to end up getting money from the cash pound, or I used to end up borrowing money, or getting a little tab at the bar, something just so I could stay longer in the pub. I wasn't living a normal life. You don't live a normal life when you're, pardon me, an alcoholic. You barely exist, and then you get worse, and then you become physically and mentally dependent on it, and that's when your life will collapse. So the day out in France, which is one example of this fantasy versus reality, and that's a massive, massive thing. I'm going to do some more videos about that because I've got hundreds of stories. I know that you will have as well, probably as bad as mine, or even as good on the humour front, where you've actually fantasized this wonderful trip and it's turned into a total and utter mess. However, if you are benefiting from the channel, please subscribe. Any comments you want to leave, please do. Any subjects you want covered as well, drop me a line. I'll sort that out for you. Have a great weekend. I'll speak to you soon.